Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Dorothy Dorton, AARP Alabama's Associate State Director of Outreach for Lower Alabama. Today, we are honoring our veterans, our heroes who have defended our country, risking their own lives. The video I'm about to show you a video that gives you a little more insight as to why we are saluting our veterans today. So just bear with me. All right, and sorry about that glitchiness, folks. But the video you just watched featured my friend, Troy Broussard from Louisiana. And while Troy and I don't always agree on football teams, roll Tide, we both agree on and appreciate the sacrifices veterans and their families have made for us. Me, as a wife of a veteran, and Troy, as a Desert Storm veteran himself, I'm honored to work with him. I am also honored to work with and welcome Steve Carter as my guest today.
Good morning, Dorothy, and good morning, Alabama. Happy Veterans Day to everybody.
Hi, Steve. Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. Steve works with AARP's Office of Community Engagement, and he is the leader of AARP's Veterans, Military, and Their Families Initiative, which is dedicated to empowering veterans and military families to navigate life's transitions and deliver unwavering commitment to those who have served our country. Steve is the son of a career naval officer who served in Vietnam, and his oldest son is currently a midshipman at the United States Naval Academy. Steve, thanks again for joining us today, and I also want to thank your father and your son for their service.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you to all the veterans who are watching this today. AARP appreciates and salutes your service and sacrifice today and 365 days a year. We appreciate what you've done for our country, and today is a very special day, obviously, for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, as a wife of a veteran, I totally share that sentiment with the sacrifices that both veterans and their families have made. As always, please feel free to ask any relevant questions in the comments, and we'll try to address each of those toward the end of the broadcast. We're also going to be showing you a whole lot of slides today with some great resources from AARP veterans. And, I want to remind everybody that these slides are going to be put in the comment section on the Facebook broadcast after the episode. So just make sure that if you do miss something, don't panic. It will be in the comment section in Facebook. So Steve, this is such an important topic we're discussing today. Can you tell us a little bit as to why AARP is so involved with helping veterans and their families?
Absolutely. So for several years, AARP in different ways was working in areas that were important to veterans and connecting with veterans. Going back actually 50 years ago, one of the biggest AARP programs, which is our tax aid program, it's the largest community of our community service programs across the country. The person who was the executive director of AARP at the time was a former naval officer, and he was talking with one of his colleagues, also a former naval officer, who was talking about that many veterans weren't taking advantage or leveraging all of the tax benefits that they had available to them. And that's what really led to the program that became tax aid, that today serves hundreds of thousands of people across the country. So that's just a little bit of the long history. And in many ways, we've touched veterans, with our work around caregiving, around fraud. And we were hearing from people like yourself, our colleagues in state offices across the country, our volunteers, our community partners, and other veterans organizations that talked about the fact that AARP's work around, for instance, caregiving was of particular importance to many veterans, be it someone who served in World War II, Korea, or Vietnam, or it could be an AARP member who is caring for a child who has served in one of the post 9/11 conflicts. Also, with our work on fraud, as you're aware, veterans are twice as likely to be targeted for fraud, and there are unique scams that target veterans. So the work that AARP does to help our members and 50+ constituents to protect them from fraud really is important too. And then also in the whole area of employment and work and jobs is another area where as people transition out of the military or try to stay in the workforce and translate their military skills and experience into the private workforce, that was another area where we had some expertise to bring. And then the top issue for many veterans is understanding the benefits that they're eligible for, be it through the VA or at the state level or education benefits, et cetera. Not an area where we have specific expertise, but we have the reach to be able to connect people to those benefits and understand how they navigate the system.
Excellent. That's just so great. When I first came on board with AARP, I was really impressed with how focused AARP is on veterans. And that was really interesting. I did not know that about the tax aid. That's such a cool story. I always learn something new every day about AARP, and it's always good stuff. So in Alabama alone, there are almost 390,000 veterans, and 73% of those veterans are 50 plus. So I know a lot of veterans need the health benefits that they have earned and deserve. And that can be a real daunting task to really navigate the veterans health benefit system and really fully understand it. Are there some resources out there that AARP has to assist veterans with their health benefits?
Yeah, so this is one of the areas where AARP has been approached by those in the veteran community to ask us about the expertise that we have on helping people understand Medicare and Medicaid and health benefits in general, because for many veterans, whether you served as a career, whether you served in your 20-year career, if you're eligible for the TRICARE program, or if you're trying to understand benefits that are available from VA Health and how they might fit with Medicare or Medicaid or private insurance, it's a really daunting task. I went through that with my mom about 20 years ago when she retired and was trying to understand my dad's health benefits and her, and Medicare and how they all fit together. So we produced a basic piece. All of the resources we put together are free for our members and for the public at large. We're now working on a workbook that will help people just understand all the right questions to ask and the places to look for information on health benefits that may be available to them and how they all fit together and making recommendations. Now, this is often, very individual, they're different individual concerns. So ideally, we're going to build toward at some point in the future being able to give people more specific individualized advice, but for now we're putting together resources that help people just understand the right questions to ask and where to start, because that is a big part of the challenge. So yes, it's an area where we're really trying to bring our expertise to bear and helping people navigate the healthcare benefits that they're eligible for.
Yes, and as you were saying, we have the healthcare benefits guide that I'm showing now. So yeah, sorry, I was really getting into listening to you, and I forgot to put the slide up.
Sure.
But yes, so that's really great information. Like I said, I know it's very daunting. It was interesting when my grandmother, probably similar to what your mother went through, when we were looking at health benefits for her from my grandfather, he was in the Air Force. It was very daunting and very confusing for us. And unfortunately, my grandmother was suffering from dementia, so she couldn't remember, the important papers or the steps or anything like that. So it was really kind of a really kind of a trial and error for us to figure out what benefits she did have, as a spouse of a veteran. Um, so, that's such a great resource. Again, that's the health benefit guide. I'm going to throw that up there real quick again. And, you know, one of the things that veterans face especially their loved ones, face some unique challenges when it comes to caregiving for their veteran. And I know AARP has some tools that can help ease this burden for this new growing class of caregivers. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I talked about earlier, that again, it could be, you could have someone in your family who served in World War II or the Korean conflict or in Vietnam who needs caregiving. It could be whether it's military service related or not, but for many people, dealing with service related disabilities going back to their service, that's a significant issue. And then in some cases, we have people who are AARP member age who are taking care of a child who served in one of the post 9/11 conflicts. So again, similar to what we talked about on the health benefits, sometimes it's just important to understand, the starting point, right? For many people, they're just trying to figure out where to start. So AARP worked with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, who are really strong partners with us in the area of veteran caregiving, to put together a free resource guide that helps you just sort of organize your caregiving journey for a veteran. And you can see those 5, key steps for any veteran caregiver. First, to talk it out. 2, to team up with a support system, come up with a plan, seek professional support, whether that be through, talking at the federal level with the VA or a state veterans agency, or seeking out long-term care support resources in your community. And 5th, and maybe most importantly, taking care of yourself as well as the person in your family or your friend who you're providing care for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And this is so great because again, AARP is so big on caregiving and caring for the caregivers and their prepared care. And then this just takes it a step further where it's a unique guide for veterans and their loved ones. So this is just such a great resource. And, I hope that some of the people who are watching maybe are seeing some of these resources and feeling some relief, knowing that there are tools and options out there for them. And, caregiving on any day is taxing, but during a global pandemic, it can feel like climbing Mount Everest every single day. Are there some guidelines on caring for loved ones during a pandemic, particularly veterans?
Yeah, so when the pandemic hit last spring, we again teamed up with the Dole Foundation to put together a basic, 2-page guidance sheet, an advice sheet, if you will, on how to deal in the pandemic. So one of the things that really adds to the caregiving challenge, and you see the sort of the top 5 list here, I'll focus a little bit on understanding all of the things that people need to do to protect themselves, the precautions that they need to take in their home. And there's a balance between that many caregivers are facing between making sure you have the right supports, you have people who are around you so you're not dealing with isolation, yet also making sure that somebody who comes into your home or your care setting, that you don't get exposed to somebody who might have the virus. So those are really 2 of the big challenges that are created by the pandemic and providing care to somebody. So again, it's important to understand how everybody works together within the family or within the team, within the community. Take inventory of all your essential items, make sure you have all your medications and understand all the precautions you need to take for doing medical visits, and really have a plan to stay connected, because many persons who are in caregiving situations are dealing with isolation right now, and it really only makes the situation more, just that much worse for them.
Yes, absolutely. And this is just such another great resources we have. And again, there's a couple of websites up there, and don't panic. We will again put these slides up in the comments afterwards, so don't worry about that. And please remember, send us your questions in the comments if you have any questions for Steve and our resources. We'd love to hear them. And so that's some really great information. And we're shifting gears a little bit now, but it really is sad to say that veterans are particularly targeted for various frauds and scams. I know there's scams out there that people just, try to get their GI Bills, and there's just other opportunities, unfortunately, that these criminals prey on veterans specifically. And AARP has the Fraud Watch Network, which is excellent for educating folks on the latest scams and frauds out there. Can you tell me a little bit about our special watchdog alerts for Operation Project Veterans and how it helps?
Sure. So about 3 years ago, AARP teamed up with the United States Postal Inspection Service, and that's the federal agency that oversees fraud and scams for the federal government, and are really on top of like the trends of what type of scams are out there. So that really enables us to provide information to the veteran community, because as you noted, there are criminals that specifically target veterans because they see their, the military benefits that they're eligible for as a tempting target. Also, they try to take advantage of the kinship and generosity and support that many veterans feel for each other, and they'll reach out and indicate that they're trying to help them earn benefits, or that they represent a charity for veterans that they're raising money for, and it turns out to be a fake charity. So those are the type of things that we're really looking for, constantly looking at that top list, if you will, of the specific scams that target veterans. And for instance, if you're working with the VA on benefits eligibility or benefits access, it's possible the VA would call you. But if you're not certain, I believe, Dorothy, you have a number to run, correct? That you can contact the VA.
I do.
For general customer service, but also if you're not certain, if somebody's reaching out to you and saying, hey, you're eligible for these benefits, but in order to obtain them, we need you to give us all this personal information, like your bank account information, your social security number. That's an indication that it could in fact be a scam artist who's trying to take your money. So you can always call back the VA, because oftentimes con artists will call and claim to be representing the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
Yes. So there's that number down below. You see it, 1-800-827-1000. Again, if you get a call from the VA and they're asking you all the personal information, you don't have to give it to them. You can hang up and call this number and verify. And also, we do have our Fraud Watch Network hotline. So there is a number you can call and report as well to the VA as well, but you can also have this network as well to call and let them know that there's somebody out there that's trying to scam you. That way it can begin to be investigated and stuff. So also, if you feel like you've been a victim of veterans fraud, it's very good to call this number as well, because there are people that can connect you with folks that can help victims of scams as well. So that's some really great information. And again, that Veterans Administration, like you said, Steve, that number is for any questions that you have for the Veterans Administration. It's always a good place to start. So it's just so frustrating to know that these people are preying on our most cherished heroes. And I'm really glad that we have this resource available. So once veterans retire from their military service, another thing that can be really confusing for them to navigate, especially if they've been a career military person, is the civilian workforce. And I know we have some tools that are available for folks that are entering into the workforce, or just maybe looking for something, to supplement their income. So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about the working jobs?
Absolutely. Yeah. So as you pointed out, whether somebody served 20 years in the military or a few years in the military, when they come out of the military into the civilian workforce, it's often difficult to understand how their skills and experience serving in the United States military will translate into the civilian job sector, if you will. And oftentimes for employers, it's difficult too. So AARP works on both sides to encourage employers to look at to really understand the skills and experience. And for many veterans, it's really it's a matter of how you can take and translate what you learn, some of which, the skills of leadership and persistence, and being able to, handle a situation, just being able to pivot, if you will, depending on the situation, and think and act quickly, if you will, are skills that may not always come across on a resume, but they should come across in an interview or when you're talking with a prospective employer. So it's really important to help veterans identify what their skills are and how to, make themselves attractive to an employer. Now, one of the free resources that AARP has is our AARP job board, which is available to anybody. But we also have a filter when you go into the job board that you can press a button and it will identify employers who are specifically prioritizing, targeting, or hiring veterans. So that's a useful resource that we provide now to help really, refine your job search and look at those employers who do tend to be very veteran friendly in their hiring practices. We also have a service, our Resume Advisor, which can help a job applicant, to look at their resume and make some changes that really sort of highlight the actual skills and experience they learned in the military. There's a new set of resources and tools and service that we're looking to bring online in 2021. Can't talk quite about them yet because they're not finalized, but we're really excited about this. And it's going to provide, hopefully, some opportunity for additional education and certification for those coming out of the military or those with military experience to translate those skills for new jobs in the 21st century workplace.
That's really exciting to hear. So we'll have to have you back when you can talk about that a little more, and we can make an announcement on a Wisdom Wednesday. So Steve, these are such wonderful resources. Where can people find them?
So the first place to look is on the AARP website and our special veterans page, aarp.org/veterans. And there you'll find information on caregiving, work, and jobs. We also have a special page set up, by the way, that we put together when the pandemic hit earlier this year that has a list of resources, both AARP and other resources that you can find. And then it could also link you to other parts of the AARP website that have information and tools and free resources. So since we launched aarp.org/veterans, we've had just an overwhelming response, by the way. So the number of people who visit that site has quadrupled just in the last year, and the year before that it had increased dramatically as well. So the response to this has been really positive, and we're really, we're really trying to use the reach of AARP and the expertise that we bring to help the 50+ veterans and veterans of all ages.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. So it's scrolling down there below, www.aarp.org/veterans. So it's very simple, very easy. You can find all this information there. And so, Steve, before we start taking questions, you've got something really exciting to talk about that's happening tonight. Can you tell us about the big show?
Sure, absolutely. So AARP is one of the sponsors and co-producers of a documentary film called Sky Blossom. And Sky Blossom, the term Sky Blossom comes from the opening of a parachute of a paratrooper, and it comes out of World War II, of the troops on the ground would see the parachutes coming in and say, "Here come the Sky Blossoms to help us." So the story that Sky Blossom tells is about younger millennial age and teenage caregivers who are providing care for their parents or grandparents who have served in the United States military. And it's a really frank and powerful story about each of these families from different parts of the country who are dealing with different situations with their family, different generations and service eras, but it all focuses on how the young people who are trying to go to high school, maybe trying to go to college, find their way in the world, find a job, at the same time taking care of their families. And the producer of this video, Mr. Richard Louie, has been a caregiver for his father and grandfather, and he had the idea to put this movie together. And we've been working with the producer over the last year or so to really promote this film and help tell the story of veteran caregivers. So there's a special virtual event tonight, live from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. There is a registration link you can see there, but you can use this special registration link to register through AARP to view the screening tonight. This film is on the list of potential Academy Award nominees, so we're really excited to see the film tonight. I've been able to see certain snippets of the film, and I can tell you it's extremely powerful. And even someone like me, just found myself at times almost fighting back tears to see the poignant stories of these families. And then the film will be shown in different, will be available to be screened throughout the country afterwards. And in fact, we're going to be working with our state offices like Alabama. If you're interested in doing screenings in your state, virtually or in person, when we get back to the point where we can do in-person screenings, we really want to, put this movie out there to help tell the story of not just these 5 families, but families across the country who are dealing with similar situations.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. And this is a free event. So please, I will put that again. I'm going to put all of these slides in the comments on Facebook after we get off the broadcast. But I will also make sure that I put that registration link where you can just click on it and go straight there in the comments. It's so exciting, and space is limited, so please join us for that. And I was actually reading a little bit about it, and there's a lot of famous names who are involved in this. And of course, I can't remember them offhand right now, but there's a lot of folks that have really worked hard on this film, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you, Steve, for that. So I'm going to look and see if we have some questions. And while we do that, I am going to throw up the Veterans website again. And let me look in the comments. I think we did have one about caregiving here. And let's see. Actually, here's one. Here's a great one. We had mentioned tax aid in the beginning. And here is the information for tax aid that Candy Williams put in the comments. Thank you very much. That was helpful. So that's in the comments on Facebook, where you can learn more about tax aid. And hopefully they'll be back in business, doing taxes for folks in 2021. So again, that's in the comments on Facebook now. So, go ahead, Steve.
And by the way, a lot of there's a, if you will, a disproportionate number of veterans who volunteer with AARP, as you know, Dorothy, and your colleagues in Alabama know, because many veterans are looking to give back to their community after their service, or looking for that next mission, if you will. And many, get involved in programs like tax aid or helping out in the community, providing information and useful resources and programming for people.
Absolutely. I myself have some wonderful volunteers who are veterans, and or spouses of veterans, and it's amazing to me. As much as they've already given to their country, they still look to give to their community, and that's just so wonderful, and just such a testament to what wonderful people they are, veterans and their spouses and their families are. And so, moving on, we have another question, and this is again from Candy. This is a good question. And we touched on this, but does AARP have a resource guide for family caregivers of veterans? And yes.
The answer is yes. We have two. We have 2 versions. We have a longer, like a 40+ page guide that goes into a lot of detail and lists out a lot of potential resources. And then we have a smaller 8-page handbook that's basically a condensed version of the full 40+ page guide. So again, we did those in concert with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and it provides really a good game plan, if you will, and an idea on where to find the types of supports and services that veteran caregivers are looking for.
Yes, absolutely. And I have put that slide back up that talks about the 5 key issues facing veteran caregivers. And if you see that picture, that is actually the cover of the caregiving guide. So if you go to aarp.org/veterans, there you will be able to find that guide. So great information. Thank you so much, Steve. And another question that we have, I don't have it in the comments, but one that popped up to us, do you have to access these resources? If you're a veteran, do you have to be a member of AARP, or is this open for anyone to access?
It's open for anyone to access by going to our website. You do not have to be a member. And so those resources are free to available to anybody in the community.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. And as you said, hopefully one day when we get back into doing real live events instead of just virtual, which is great too. But we do offer to come and talk to groups, and we can do it virtually too, about our different veterans resources, about our caregiving, all of that good stuff. Steve, I want to thank you again so much for joining us today. This has just been delightful. We really appreciate it. And again, guys, please join us for Sky Blossom tonight. I'll put all of this information again in the comment section on Facebook. You'll be happy to have that stuff easy access. You won't have to rewatch this again, but we're totally okay if you want to. And so again, Steve, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you to all of our veterans and those who have served our country and are currently serving our country. And please take time today, if you know somebody who served our country, to thank them and salute them for their service and sacrifice. We appreciate them so much. And I appreciate, Dorothy, that you and the Alabama team are doing this program today as well. And hopefully be back in person to visit with my friends and family in Alabama at some point as well, too.
Yes, we would love to have you. And I know you have family in Alabama. So, I mean, you're practically a Southerner. So come on down anytime. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks. So next week, we are going to be talking about open enrollment and specifically open enrollment scams. So, you know, Medicare open enrollment's going on right now. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the importance of open enrollment. We answered a lot of great questions that you had about open enrollment and gave you some resources, information. Well, what we have found is that there are a lot of scams and they are growing every single day, literally. So we really want to address that issue with you. And so we're going to talk about Medicare open enrollment scams and how you can protect yourself, protect your loved ones, prevent them, report them, you know, make sure that you are protected, make sure that your health care is protected. So we will see you next week for that Wisdom Wednesday. And now hang on for just a second. We'll show you the exit video of our upcoming events. And again, to all the veterans and to all of their families and to all of the veterans' spouses, we salute you. We thank you for your service and your sacrifices. This country is indebted to you. So thank you very much and have a great Wednesday, folks.